the end goal in mind should be, how can I make this relationship um, easygoing and trustworthy, so the person on the other end would trust me and would trust me with anything, whether it's their money, whether it's their life.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. With me today, I'm excited to have Alina Trigub. Alina, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Todd. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be on your show.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you joining me. And we had the pleasure to meet, maybe 10 months ago, last
Just about.
October, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was great. And want to learn more about you. Want to bring you on to tell our listeners a little bit about what you're doing and help them out. So why don't you give your background and what you do?
Sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Alina Trigub. I'm the founder and the managing partner of SAMO Financial. I started my career in general in accounting industry. After I went for a degree in accounting, I thought I would give it a try, even though I never liked accounting. So I spent in tax accounting roughly about 5-6 years, and after trying both public and private world and realizing that wasn't for me, I switched to information technology world, where I work to this day. And while growing in my career, most of the roles essentially involved being the sort of the liaison between the business and technology folks and connecting the two. And while working in technology, I always had thought about taxes, because while both my husband and I were growing in our careers, so were our incomes, and so the taxes, of course. And I always thought, like, oh, I need to find a way to minimize taxes. And as a former tax accountant, I was doing the research, and obviously real estate was one of the best choices out there to lower taxes. So it's been on my mind for many years, but I haven't taken action until roughly 6 to 7 years ago, when I finally decided that I got to start doing the research. I got to start taking action. So after doing the research, trying to find something locally in New Jersey area where I live, and realizing that the cap rates are just way too low and the numbers just not going to work for me personally, I decided to go out of state. And as the out of state strategy, I decided to start with syndications. Again, that was one of the strategies I came across of while doing the research. So I started my investing career, if you will, by being an equity partner in other people's syndications. And after doing that for several years and seeing the tremendous benefits that way of investing would bring to people, where it was, in addition to passively investing, there were also tax benefits to that, and plus a way to build wealth and generate that residual income without literally no interruption to your personal day-to-day life. I decided that I wanted to help other people around me do the same thing, because most people never heard of syndications, including myself, prior to 7 years ago. So I started my own company roughly over 2 years ago, with that sole purpose of helping other folks build that wealth. And that's where I'm at today, helping people build their wealth and investing passively in syndications, and essentially educating them, explaining them what they can do and how they can do it with their um, self-directed IRAs and whatnot, and cash and so forth, and explaining about different asset classes that they can potentially invest. So that's, in a nutshell, my story.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. So you're with syndication. So you're raising money now as a partner on these deals. Everybody wants to know, how do I raise money? Some people say it's really easy. Some people say it's super hard. It doesn't matter, I guess, if it's easy or hard. A lot of people just don't even know what to do and like where to start. Give us some groundwork. Like, where do you start? How do you even get started? And then how do you get to where you're at? What are some tips and strategies you can give us?
Sure. And just, to level set, it's not just raising money for us, because we also do evaluate and underwrite each and every deal we see to
Yeah.
make sure that it fits our criteria, to make sure that this is the deal that we want to work on and
Hmm.
help uh, bring it to conclusion, because we enter every deal and we even help asset manage the deals as well. But in general, in terms of raising money, I don't look at it as raising money. I look at it as establishing and building relationship. That's what it comes down to. Um, you you don't look at it as, hey, I need to get 1 million or 5 million or whatever the sum of money is today. You have to look at it from a standpoint, what can I do to help other people build their wealth? And how can I make it so that I'm not the one reaching out to people, but on the contrary, they're the ones reaching out to me and saying, hey, can you help me invest in real estate? Can you point me in the right direction on finding the right opportunity? And when you look at it from that angle, from that perspective, it becomes a lot easier. So just like having a baby, a woman has to get pregnant first, and it takes 9 months to get to the point when the baby is born. The same thing comes down to establishing and building the relationship. And by no means I'm saying it's going to take 9 months. It could take a year, it could take 6 months, or it could take 5 years for some people to make that decision and start investing with you. But
Yep.
essentially, you need to start building the relationship way before you have an offer and way before you want to bring investors to your deal. And you build the relationship not with the end goal in mind of making that person or these people you invest in. You're building relationship with the end goal of helping people one way or another. And it doesn't even have to be real estate investing, or at least that's how I look at things. One of the great books that I think um, helped me in general to build relationship and helped me in professional and personal career was Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Yep.
where Dale talks about what it takes to build relationship, and you should approach that by uh, adding value to other people. So same applies to building relationship with these potential investors. When you approach someone, when you start a conversation, first of all, make that conversation about the person on the other end. Just like Todd, for instance, you are asking me questions and I'm talking about myself right now. Granted, this is an interview, but in general, if this was a two people conversation, I would be the one asking you questions and trying to learn more about you, your family, your past life, how was it that you got from being a teacher to becoming a syndicator and so forth, and showing genuine interest in that path of becoming a syndicator and taking that road and taking and going through all of that obstacles would be the typical progression that I would take the person I would be speaking to, showing genuine interest and really making it about the person on the other end, not about myself. That's very, very critical in establishing and building that relationship. And again, the end goal in mind should be, how can I make this relationship um, easygoing and trustworthy, so the person on the other end would trust me and would trust me with anything, whether it's their money, whether it's their life, or whether it's a personal story, whatever it is, but truly genuine relationship. And that's the best way to establish that connection and build the investor base.
Yeah, lot of great stuff, and I'm just going to summarize a few things that you said because I think there was a ton in there, and obviously to the listeners, you should probably rewind and go through a lot of that because there's a lot of value that was just dropped there right there. But first of all, establishing and building relationships, and you you want to understand that raising money is not about, as Alina said, it's not about raising money necessarily. We don't want to go into it with the mindset of asking for money, trying to get that money. We're trying to establish a relationship to provide value to them. And that's really what I got a lot about what you said. You want to help them. You want to engage in their interests. You want to have interest in them. You want to build that trust, and you want them to come to you, not the other way around. And I found it so much easier to, when I changed my mindset from I need to ask for money to I'm providing them an opportunity.
Yep.
That's a big difference. That's a totally different mindset than I'm asking for money. And everything you said there just rings so true when we're trying to establish relationships and build that rapport.
Hi, I'm Matt Jones, and if you're like me, you're looking to grow your real estate business while connecting with others. There's this incredible new virtual experience unlike any other. I'm talking about the North Star Real Estate Conference. It's coming to you online this October 22nd and 23rd, and it's not like one of those boring webinars you find all the time out there. No, this is going to be interactive. You're going to have the opportunity to network and grow relationships with not only the other attendees, but with the speakers as well. So you can sign up today online at nreconference.com and use the code DEX, D-E-X, for $50 off.
Todd, to your point, the same questions can be asked two different ways. You can come to someone and tell them, hey, I have this great opportunity, you want to invest with me? Or you can just come to that very same person and say, I have this incredible opportunity. It's going to do so and so, and this is what it's going to provide, and this is the strategy I'm going to implement. I just hope I have enough space to accommodate all of the investors that want to be with me, and leave it at that. And it can make wonders. Magic will work for itself. Again, because of the pre-existing relationship, because the person you're talking to already knows your track record, knows your credibility, and knows how worthy and transparent you are.
Yeah, right there. I mean, you just totally different. You said the same thing, but totally different, right?
Yep.
And one, somebody's gonna, maybe a few people are interested in the first approach, but the second approach, you basically said, look, you might be lucky enough to get in, but this is an amazing deal. Where the first one, you're like, hey, can you give me money?
Right.
And it's totally different. So I love it. When you're looking like these deals right now, and where the market is right now, where are you kind of at? Are you looking at continuing to raise money in deals? Do you have a pause button? Where is your mindset right now?
So I was at a pause initially, with the initial shock, just like everyone else at the beginning. At this point, I am actively engaged and actively speaking with potential partners. And some of the things we're doing are just pure joint ventures because these are smaller deals, and others are potential syndications. And what changed is our requirements have become a lot stricter, obviously, but so are the lenders' requirements. They have a lot stricter requirements for the operators, which is great. And I'm happy that these requirements are a lot stricter, because what that entails is that whoever does decide to go work on a deal will plan for that extra capital, and we'll have the strategy that will be able to support whatever economy has in front of us, and we'll shift their mind, and we'll change the strategy, because if we are to enter into recession, we may not potentially be able to raise rents maybe for the next 2-3 years. Who knows? And I want to go into the investment with that assumption. I don't want to, if I see an investment now that tells me, hey, we're going to raise rents by $100 from day one, and we're going to have zero vacancy, to me, those are all red flags. I'm not going to go into that investment. I'm not even going to consider it. But if on the contrary, the underwriting says we are raising rents by, let's say, I don't know, $10, or not raising at all the first year, and we're only doing renovations on a need-be basis for the next year or two, and then we're looking at expenses that are 50%, and maybe they'll remain 50% for the next 3 years. Those are the things that I will consider. I want to make sure that it's conservative enough that it can support whatever the changes are ahead of us, and whatever the changes the political campaign and the presidential elections are going to bring to us, because the changes are coming. We don't know who is going to be the next president, but it will definitely impact the real estate one way or the other. And I want whatever offering is ahead of us, I want that offering to be based on all of that information together, and be able to ride through the recession. well.
Yeah. I mean, we can't 100% predict the future. We can't understand where everything is going, but we can use the knowledge that we have right now to protect our investments and our investors to, set ourselves up for success. Obviously
Absolutely.
there's still unpredictability,
Yep.
but as you're talking, that's what you're talking about, covering some of that unpredictability. The beautiful thing about some of the changes in the underwriting with the lenders is it allows people that are conservative like you to actually potentially even get deals that you maybe wouldn't have got when underwriting was loose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Completely agree.
Yeah. Um, I wanted to say something too about building relationships, and you mentioned this, and I forgot to say this. You mentioned about not waiting to build relationships. And I think that's what a lot of people make that mistake is they don't have a deal, they haven't done a deal, and they try to get that deal and then they go build the relationships, or they assume that, well, somebody told me raising money was really easy. And so I'm just going to, once I get this deal, I'm going to raise, it's only $1 million. I can raise it because I know doctors or I know whoever. It's not that easy, right? Building the relationship first is way more important than assuming that they're all in on your deal.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And again, when going to build relationship, you have to start with the end goal in mind of providing value to the other person, even if the conversation at first sight will not touch real estate or even at second sight.
Yeah.
But one way or the other, it will come to that because one of the questions people ask each other is, what do you do? And you can talk about what you do, but you don't have to, and actually you shouldn't be selling anything. You can just
Right.
talk about your business, why you started it, why you're doing it, why you believe in it, and why it makes sense for you personally. It should not be a sales pitch, but it should
Yep.
rather be a personal story. And if you tell that as a story, then it's not looked as some sort of precaution, that the person looks at you with an open mind because they know you're not selling anything, and that allows them to be a lot more open-minded and a lot more relaxed. And when someone is relaxed, they're digesting the information a lot easier, as opposed to, hey, I know it's a sales pitch and I need to finish writing in that elevator to get to the end of that sales pitch because I don't want to hear it anymore. So you want to avoid that kind of situation at all costs.
So true. There's a difference between, a lot of people say, "Oh, have your elevator pitch." I don't like. I think that's gross.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like that. You need to know what you're going to say, right? You need to be able to
Yep.
explain what you do, and you need to explain it in a positive way and in a way with energy. But you don't need to have a pitch, right?
Right.
To me, that's kind of like, oh, that's gross. Like, I don't want to meet you and be pitched by you. So why do I want to be pitching other people? So you need to have that first time contact to understand what you're doing. But as you said, you don't need to sound salesy. Talk about what you do. Go ahead, and then let them ask the questions. Let them lead. If they're interested in what you do, they're gonna ask the questions.
For
If they
sure.
don't care about what you do, well, then they're gonna talk about something else. Well, then let
Of course.
them. That's fine. Maybe they'll come later and be interested. It's okay. Or maybe
Yeah.
they won't. It's okay.
For sure. For sure. And, the conversation ultimately in a lot of situations may come back to real estate. For instance, I had this conversation a long time ago with someone whose daughter was getting married. And, when we got to the kids, he started talking about his daughter and how they were setting up the wedding and the wedding hall. And then he started telling me about the history of this wedding hall and that it was recently purchased and renovated. And he was talking about this developer, and I'm like, yeah, this is a very well-known developer in the area. And essentially at the end of the conversation, we ended up talking about real estate and this developer and how many great things he was doing in the area and how great this new wedding hall was. So, yeah, all roads lead to real estate, essentially.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's shift gears a little bit. I want to know, what's a mistake that you've made along the way and how have you learned from it?
I made many mistakes, just like everyone else. It's you unfortunately you learn better from your own mistakes than from someone else's. So many years ago, this was one of the first mistakes. During the crash, my husband and I decided to start investing, but we weren't sophisticated investors at the time. We essentially just followed the trend. All of our friends were buying at the time, and they were buying in Philadelphia area because it was cheap. We just followed the trend, went to Philly, but bought the first house we saw, and we ended up having so many troubles with it, from stolen copper pipes to bomb to people stealing other things within the house, to having it vacant for a while, to then selling at a huge loss. No, you learn from your own mistakes. The second time I entered real estate, which was 7 years ago, I did a ton of research, a lot of underwriting, a lot of due diligence and follow-up before I even invested in that first syndication.
Yeah, definitely doing your research, understanding what you're getting into, right? It's so critical. And a lot of people, and I don't know exactly what your mindset was, but a lot of people see that, oh, I can get into this property for a good price. On paper, it looks really good, and they buy it and not understanding the whole how real estate really works and like what could go wrong. It looks great on paper sometimes, but it can go wrong still. And
Exactly. Same happened with same happened with us during that time. We essentially bought it because it looked good on paper. We had no idea what kind of tenants we can get. We had no idea. We didn't even do the research as to what kind of area it was, and it turned out to be not such a great area of Philadelphia. And the tenants were mostly people on assistance. Very few of them worked. So getting a good quality tenant was a problem. So we suffered through that property for a number of years until we decided that we wanted to just get rid of it and sold it at a loss afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. What's you got this full-time job. You're full-time still, right?
Still.
Yeah. And then you're doing this, and so you're doing a lot. And a lot of people want to figure out how they can do more, and like how can I start something like this? What are like maybe 3 success habits that you've built to allow you to both work a full-time job, have a life, and also have this business?
I think the habits come over time, and they don't come naturally, but they come by, I guess, nature of force, and that force comes by educating yourself and surrounding yourself with the right people. So I started reading personal development books probably around the same time I started thinking about real estate. Such books as Miracle Morning or Awaken a Giant Within are really good examples of helping someone to not just change your mind overnight. That's not possible at all, but starting to think differently and starting to being open to opportunities that you haven't thought about before. In terms of the time management, I would say one of the best books that I've read has been One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. The book clearly articulates of how you're supposed to concentrate on that one thing, and I believe they talk about time blocking as well. But essentially, you have to set your mind on something, and if you have the driving force behind it, which is also actually excellently detailed by Simon Sinek in What's Your Why, or something with why. I forget the title of his book. Or Start with Why.
Start with Why, I think it is.
Start with Why, yeah. So again, you need to have the reason why you're doing what you're doing strong enough. If the reason is strong enough, and for me it's my family, if I want to create and build a better future for my family. My husband and I are both immigrants, so we want to make sure that at all costs our children are avoid going through what my husband and I have gone through when we were younger, when we immigrated to estate. And by having that mindset of building that better future for my family, I'm able to get through all the obstacles and challenges on my way. Because believe it or not, regardless whether you're active or passive or whatever you're doing, whether you're starting a business or investing in real estate, there will always be obstacles. But if you have the right mindset, if you're driven enough and you know that you have that end goal in mind, you will be able to get through them. Some are smaller obstacles, some are larger, but if you have the reason why that's strong enough, that's driving you to get through it, that will help you wake up every morning, get up and go and set up the clock and dedicate some time to your full-time job, some time to your family, some time to your business, whatever it is. But you'll be driven enough, and you'll have the time organized well enough to do that. Obviously, there are other things in life that you may need to sacrifice. For instance, in my case, I decided that watching TV was not essential for me. So I still watch TV, but maybe a couple of times a month. That's it. Again, I don't care enough about TV to watch it. I do care more about my family, my job in real estate. So I put that as a priority. Other people might be able to give up their hobbies, or maybe they'll shorten the time they spend on their hobbies, whatever it is. But you need to decide what's more important for you at this point in time, and that will help you to drive you through it, and that will help you to reprioritize your things and allocate enough time on whatever you want to do. And in terms of real estate, if you don't have enough time, just become a passive investor. It could be syndications, or it could be lending, or something else. But there are many ways to be active or passive investor, and depending on your time and bandwidth, you can become either one. And I actually recently found the time to write up a training. So the training is how to select the best real estate investing niche that's suitable to yourself. And it actually talks about that stuff, that you might not be active investor, but you may be passive investor, but you need to get through that exercise to figure out how much time you have. That's number one. And number two, what do you want to do with that time? Because you may have 10-15 hours a week, but you may not want to spend all of it on real estate. You maybe want to go fishing or hiking. So those are the things that need to be weighed, figured out, and then put together to determine what type of investing is best suited to you.
I think, I mean, a lot of really good stuff, and I'll speak to the last one. And a lot of people think that they need to be active right away.
Mm-hmm.
They think, oh, I got to buy properties to be a property investor. And so, I don't have a ton of money, so I'm just going to go buy a duplex or buy a single family house or whatever. And they might even buy it out of state because it's cheaper somewhere else.
Yep.
And that's what they go do. And they think, I got to be active. I got to go do it. And they buy it. And then they think, oh man, this is terrible. I can't do this. And a lot of people burn out. They're done. That's it. They tried it. And that's when you're at like the family function, and the uncle says, I did real estate. Real estate's terrible. That's the type, there's a lot of people that do that. They got the full-time job. They think they have to be this active real estate investor. And there's so many other ways about it. There's, what you're doing, you're partnering with people, you're forming partnerships. And forming partnerships is such a great way to do it. You're active, but you're also leveraging other people. Right? You're leveraging other people to do some of the tasks that either you don't like, you're not good at, or you just don't have time to do. And so why not leverage other people to be able to do that, or be passive, completely passive? So many different strategies. So where can, by the way, where can they find that? You said you had a special report. Is it out yet?
It's not a report. It's actually a training. Yes, I put that training on Udemy. I can send you the link for those that are interested in that training. But yeah, I recently completed it and just put on Udemy literally last week.
Okay, great. So if you can send that to me, we'll put it on the show notes. That way people can catch that and check it out, because I think that'd be a great resource for them. A couple last questions. You've mentioned several books, but I'm going to ask you for either one more or maybe even a repeat of what you've already said. But what's a book that you want to recommend to our listeners?
My favorite is an ancient book. It's over 100 years old. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. I forgot the author's name, Jim Clason, I think, something like that. But yeah, The Richest Man in Babylon is the best book, in a sense that it the foundations of it, even though it was written so long ago, it's still very true. The author talks about how you're supposed to pay yourself first before you pay everyone else, and he goes into lengthy explanation as to why you're supposed to do it and what you will end up with if you do that.
Awesome.
Love that book.
Yeah, definitely a good book. How do you like to give back?
I try to volunteer in children-related organizations, some of it through my job, some of it through the local community organizations. But typically, we have a bunch of charter schools in the area, and I like to go and present in front of the kids, talk about career changes, talk about choosing the right career, or talk about the importance of college. And a few times we've done with them hackathons where the kids would have like a business case of how they need to build a business, and it would be like 4 or 5 hour event, and I would be a coach for one of the teams, helping them put that business plan together and decide on a business strategy. And it was amazing to see the transformation after spending with the kids 2-3 hours, how they would start to think as a business folks, and how would they put that business strategy together and then present it at the end of the event. I really enjoyed that.
I love it. I love it. Like, near and dear to my heart. Last question before we wrap up. What are your 3 pillars of wealth creation?
I think the first one is, as I mentioned earlier, to have a drive. You need to have a strong enough drive that will drive you through all the challenges and obstacles on your way towards that wealth creation. And as I said, in my case, it's my family. My family is driving me, and my family is truly supportive. Everyone from my husband to my kids to my mom, everyone is very, very supportive of what I'm doing, and it helps a lot. The second thing, you need to have the right mindset. And again, that will not come overnight, I guarantee. But if you continue working on yourself, reading the books, talking to people, attending events, like for me, one of the great events that I really enjoyed and was truly transformational was Tony Robbins' something about your destiny.
Yeah.
He came to Jersey in 2018, and I wasn't going to go. I wasn't planning on, but then a number of my friends, real estate investors, were saying, "Oh, I'm going to Tony Robbins event." And I heard that from so many people that finally decided I got to check it out. I mean, so many investors are going, it must be worth their time. So I signed up and went with one of my friends, and the experience was just incredible. From walking on call to seeing the guy in his 60s on stage for over 12 hours with no food or drink. It was incredible. And standing and presenting, and all his coaches, I mean, he has a truly incredible team of amazing people, and what he was able to do with the audience, it was really transformational experience. I really, really enjoyed that. Helped a lot. I'm grateful that it was pre-COVID and we could still go dance together, jump together, and do all those activities. I'm sure we wouldn't be allowed to do all of that now.
Yeah.
And the third pillar of building wealth is continuous education. It's extremely important to continuously educating yourself. Regardless what you do, you could be an expert in one field, like you said. Maybe you're great at asset management, or maybe you're great with numbers. Continue educating yourself in other things, because education is knowledge and power, and it also opens up new opportunities. So I am a true believer of continuing educating myself in various fields in real estate and beyond.
Awesome. Well, Alina, I really appreciate you joining us on the show, talking about your journey, talking about strategies for bringing relationships to the table, for bringing money into deals, for educating yourself, for strategies to get into different, whatever real estate works for you. I really appreciate all the value you've brought to the show. What's the way our listeners can get in touch with you, have a conversation, learn more about you?
Sure, Todd. They can find me through my website, which is samofinancial.com, or on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram.
Awesome. Awesome. And we'll put all that in the show notes. Again, really appreciate you coming on the show, and you have a fantastic rest of the day.
Thank you, Todd. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out, and we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.